This video is 2 years too late. 2 years ago a YouTuber by the name of Aarvoll did a vicious video with the title, The Truth About Falun Gong with a description. My experience with the world's largest cult. This is a response to the vicious video. I would tell you why it's vicious at the end of the video. So let's begin. Before I start, let me briefly share about my cultivation journey. I was born into a typical Chinese family. My mother prays to Tupac Kong, and once a while she would go to Middle Street to the Guanyin temple to ask for prosperity and luck. I studied in a missionary school in secondary, and it was then that I had my first contact with Christianity. I studied in St. Andrews and it was of Anglican denomination. When I was young I asked many questions about Christianity. Why aren't everybody created equal? Why are there rich and poor people? Why didn't God make everybody rich? Of course, I came from a humble background. I will share more of it in the later episodes. It took me almost 30 years researching all religions before I found Falun Gong, and I cried the moment I found it. Fast forward to 1999, I saw ads on papers and TV saying that Falun Gong was a cult. This went on for more than 1 year in Singapore. So like any other ordinary person, in my mind, Falun Gong was already a cult. I started practicing Falun Gong back in 2010, and I was told that during 1999 to 2001, police in plain clothes would always gather around Falun Gong practitioners at the open practice areas throughout the island. Falun Gong is now legal in Singapore, but the Singapore government has never apologized for their actions back then. Hence, most Singaporeans would think of Falun Gong as a cult due to the massive smearing campaign over those few years. I can understand why many of the citizens in China go crazy the moment they hear the term Falun Gong. Imagine being brainwashed for 20+ years, any sane person would be converted. Hitler's propaganda chief Joseph Goebbels once said, "Repeat a lie long enough and it becomes the truth." So, let's start revealing the truth. Why am I doing this video? Falun Gong cultivators are all peace-loving people that mostly mind their own businesses. But these days, more and more videos of such nature attacking Falun Gong is beginning to surface on YouTube. Due to my extensive and unique cultivation experience, I am taking on this important responsibility. If you find this video meaningful, do leave a like, comment and help share this video to the masses.
In 2013, I spent 6 months working for Shen Yun, which is a traveling Chinese ballet company. Their headquarters is in Cultivation, New York. Shen Yun is run by a religious organization called Falun Gong, Falun Dafa. Li Hongzhi started this religion.
Falun Gong is not a religion, nor does it operate as one. Everybody can come and go as they please. No money changes hands, nor does it ask for donations. All books and audios can be downloaded at falundafa.org in all common languages. Falun Gong is a philosophical way of cultivation where it teaches people truthfulness, compassion and forbearance. When practitioners encounter obstacles, we are taught self-reflection and whether our prior actions were the cause of it.
I believe in the early 90s or maybe the late 80s, I was very familiar with this religion because as a condition of membership in the orchestra, you had to practice this discipline, which for the most part is innocuous. It's meditating at various times during the day, doing some exercises, and just having a general moral code that you follow. Nothing really dastardly about it. But they have some interesting beliefs, and I've never really talked about this experience. So Falun Gong is a very well-organized institution. And Li Hongzhi is a very charismatic man. My orchestra manager, I forget her name actually right now, unfortunately, but she had a husband and her son was in the orchestra. But she had a husband that did some job somewhere else, but she lived there and traveled with the orchestra. And when Li Hongzhi would speak, the way she looked at him was just like he was God. Because that's what these people believe, that Li Hongzhi is effectively God.
Master Li has never claimed he is God.
he's careful never to explicitly state where he stands in the cosmology that he's invented.
What Master Li says can be found in many Buddhist teachings from Gautama Buddha and others.
But the religion is fascinating. It's a mixture of various religious beliefs. They do believe in a creator kind of behind it all, as well as a tripartite materialist framework similar to the philosophy of the three gunas from Hinduism. They believe in Buddhas, and traditionally there are three levels of Buddhahood: the Arhat, the awakening, and then the Bodhisattva, kind of compassionate being.
The first level of full enlightenment is Arhat. There are many levels in Arhat. Once a person reaches the Arhat level, they bypass samsara and the 6 paths of transmigration. In layman terms, it means the person does not need to go through the reincarnation cycle anymore. As an Arhat, one can see cities and cars within a grain of sand. After the multiples levels of Arhat comes Tathagata. Only as a Tathagata can one manifest nirvanas in paradise. A Tathagata can't see 3,000 universes within a grain of sand, then 3,000 universes again, and then within a grain of sand. 6 levels in and 6 levels out.
And then Tathagata, that's where you really get to full enlightenment, nirvana, this sort of thing. And the historical Buddha is supposed to be one in a long line of incarnations of this kind of ascended master archetype. Now, Li Hongzhi claims that a Tathagata is like nothing to him. He's so far above this.
Gautama Buddha is a Tathagata residing in the 6th-dimensional universe. In case you don't understand what is a dimensional universe, let me explain briefly. In our current cosmos, 3,000 galaxies form the first-dimensional universe. At the exterior of the first-dimensional universe is a shell. 3,000 first-dimensional universe will go on to form the second-dimensional universe. Then a shell. 3,000 second-dimensional universe would go on to form the third-dimensional universe. Then a shell. So on and so forth. The gods, Buddhas and the intradimensional beings of the second-dimensional universe would not know of the existence of the third-dimensional universe. Gautama Buddha was a Tathagata living in the 6th-dimensional universe. Over there, he said that the number of Tathagatas at the 6th-dimensional universe were as much as the sand that could be found at the Ganges River. That was the main reason he said the following. The universe is so huge that he could not see its exterior, and the universe is so small that he could not see its interior. Contrary to popular belief, Gautama Buddha is not the origin Buddha. He often mentioned about the existence of the ancient Buddhas and his teachers that were way before him. How he already attained enlightenment before and merely reconnected with his past knowledge. Likewise, Master Li has many teachers and he could see beyond what Gautama Buddha had seen.
And he claims to be omniscient. He claims to have all these great powers.
If you have never tried Falun Gong exercises, I challenge you to try them out. The moment you do the exercises, you could already start feeling an energy circulating around your body. In the early days of Falun Gong, Master Li healed many people personally. Once Falun Gong got enough recognition, he stopped doing that. Mainly because as individuals, we have to clear our own karma debts. Does Falun Gong cultivators have special powers? Yes. Many have supernatural abilities and can levitate at will. But we are not supposed to show off our abilities to the public. In every person, we have dark matter and white matter. Dark matter are bad karma or sins. White matter means virtue. The ultimate goal of a cultivator is to reduce our dark matter or sins to zero. When that happens, the molecular part of our body is transformed into cosmic matter. A person that has attained enlightenment looks normal in public, but from within he is already a changed man. When the body's molecular matter is fully transformed into cosmic matter, a person is no longer constrained by the physical limitations of this dimensional universe. Can I levitate? No. But I can stop the rain. As cultivators, we are not supposed to heal others or show our abilities. I only resort to using my abilities when I don't have the umbrella with me. It works typically for smaller rains. If it's raining lightly, I will chant the following, and the rain would stop almost immediately.
法正乾坤，邪恶全灭；法正天地，现世现报。法轮大法好，真善忍好。
There's a saying. Cultivation is up to the individual, abilities is up to the master. So, do you think Master Li has abilities?
So their central text Again, I can't remember the name of the text now, but it's some Chinese name. And so I read this thing like dozens of times because that was part of what you had to do as a member of the organization. They would all sit together and read it out loud. One paragraph in English and then the next paragraph in Chinese. And I learned just a little bit of Chinese while I was there. I took a class in Chinese from one of the other people there with some of the other Westerners that they hire. And it's very strange that, so Shen Yun is free, or at least was back in 2013, I'm not sure about today, but they're free to go to major music schools in this country and put up a little display. And like at Eastman, where I went to school, they even, Eastman let them like use one of the rehearsal spaces, concert venues also, sort of, to do auditions. So people did auditions at the school. Now I didn't. I was graduated and was kind of just figuring out what I was going to do living in Wisconsin. And I got an email from my horn professor back at Eastman saying, well, Shen Yun is going through Milwaukee and, I can get you an interview, basically, or an audition. Or he recommended that I contact them. I think he knew that I wasn't really on track to be doing anything. I had auditioned for the music program at University of Wisconsin-Madison, where I was, and I was taking lessons with the horn professor there, and he was a nice enough guy. I'm sure that would have been fine if I took that route. But I went to Milwaukee, I took the audition, and they offered me the job, and I had no idea what I was getting into. But yeah, it's very strange that they're allowed to do this in American music schools. Knowing what I know now, they are a cult. Like, they're nice people. I love the people that I met there. I had very good times.
Is this a conflicting thought? You haven't explained why Falun Gong is a cult.
And they're all scrupulous to an excess. Very generous, good-natured people.
Do you fear good-natured people? Have you been harmed in any way?
Would never do anything, would never steal, would never curse, would never do anything to tarnish their gong energy.
Is it funny to see good-natured people behaving in this way?
It's religious syncretism is the basis of this system, and it's not karma-based exactly. I mean, he does mention karma and chi, but these are subsidiary forces.
It's the total opposite. Chi is just energy. Falun Gong cultivators believe in the law of cause and effect. Everything is karma-based.
And primarily, you're concerned about your gong column, which is kind of like this virtue energy that builds up from not doing things wrong, basically. And that's the emphasis of his moral system. It's not like Christian altruism. It's more like, don't do anything immoral, don't do anything illegal. So it's a via negativa morality.
Isn't it good to do good? Do you know that at one time, Falun Gong was widely recommended by the CCP due to its health benefits and uplifting of moral standards? It's only when 100 million people started practicing Falun Gong that the Chinese Communist Party got worried and decided to slander Falun Gong. I am still waiting for you to tell me why Falun Gong is a cult.
Which, it's not intrinsically that harmful. What I worry about is how organized and effective these people are. So Li Hongzhi was kicked out of China, and supposedly the religion is persecuted in China, and they spread these stories of organ harvesting. So they will take Falun Dafa practitioners from China, the Chinese government will, and they'll harvest their organs and sell them on the black market, which it's China, maybe that happens. But knowing what I know about the religious beliefs, I'm just extremely skeptical of anything that this organization has to say.
I strongly recommend watching this movie Human Harvester searching organ harvesting keywords on YouTube. Here's my question, why is the CCP harvesting Falun Gong practitioners' organs? Is it because the organs are all in great condition? Is it because there are many Falun Gong practitioners that have been locked up, resulting in an overwhelming organ pool? Let's take a look at the short trailer of Human Harvest.
先摘的是心脏，然后再摘的是肾。当心脏的血管剪到一下，它就进行一阵抽搐，然后那个非常可怕的。
When it cut through, blood still coming out. That is to say, blood still running. That means this person's still alive.
So the question becomes, how has China become the #2 transplant country in the world?
The place where every other country in the world gets its organs, not available to them. Where are these organs coming from?
The staff in the operating rooms are all making a lot of money from doing it. They're not going to talk about it.
出汗的时候也未必知道是啥的。
It's a new form of evil, it's a new form of abuse, it's something that nobody's ever done before.
This is a crime against humanity.
我想，如果我要找一些确实我的家人，找一些让他们站出来，也许会很多人存活在这个世界上。
The government in China is doing a terrible thing, which is comparable to what the Nazis did.
I actually got a death threat at one event. You're putting your own life at risk. Are you not afraid? Facing off against such a huge entity is indeed a daunting challenge. Oh, I'm one guy, David Kilgore were two guys.
It's not two Davids, it's every single thinking human being on the continent. And we're going to continue to do it, like many, many other people, until it stops.
Available now on iTunes.
So some of the things in the main book, and he has many books he never writes them, he gives speeches.
There are two main books, Falun Gong and Zhu and Falun. The rest are articles and excerpts of Master Li's teachings worldwide.
He's a brilliant extemporaneous speaker, and he gives speeches and people transcribe these and kind of clean them up a little bit. The main one, for the most part, it's anecdotes about him meeting other supposed masters and then like discovering that they're really demons and describing how he was able to defeat them. And like he claims to be able to fly and just all that shapeshift, all this stuff. And you know, when I saw the ballet for the first time after they gave me the job, they let me see the ballet before I, played with the orchestra or anything. And so I was sitting like 3 seats down from Li Hongzhi, and he was wearing glasses, and he's like kind of overweight, and I guess I didn't see this exactly, but he used to play trumpet when he was a kid, and apparently he took out a trumpet and was going to play. I don't know if he was going to play with the orchestra or just for the orchestra people, and he couldn't, obviously, because he hadn't played in years, and those muscles are very specific. It's not something you can just pick back up after any prolonged period of time. So it just doesn't, what I saw from him doesn't match the idea of this person with omniscience and superpowers. But, that's what he claims. And that's the stuff in the main text, which is ridiculous enough, right? And a little bit more on that main text and how he portrays the system. I mean, he depicts it as though it's like a science in a sense. It's a wisdom tradition. It's actually ancient. It's actually the most ancient thing. And he criticizes Western science because that kind of desensitized Chinese people from their archaic practices, which were actually much more effective. Like Chinese medicine was more effective, and he like disparages Western technology, saying that, well, in the past, with all these powers from the meditation and from the, enlightened states that people were able to achieve, people could fly around, things like that.
Let's take a look at this video on a PhD research done on stage 4 cancer victims after practicing Falun Gong.
美国临床肿瘤学会年会日前在美国芝加哥举行，超过3万名肿瘤专家参加会议。一篇关于癌症末期的病人修炼法轮功以后而改善健康的研究论文在大会中发表，引发医学界的关注。
这篇关于中国癌症晚期病人因修炼法轮功而改善健康的论文，是大会中唯一研究气功与癌症治疗的论文，受到与会人士的关注。美国知名医学杂志《Cure》也对这项研究的作者进行了专访。论文的作者之一，瑞士诺华制药公司的董宇红博士表示，他们对152例预计存活时间不到1年的癌症末期患者进行研究，发现这些患者原本平均预计存活时间只有5.1个月，但在修炼法轮功后，实际存活时间却增加到56个月，延长了10倍以上。直到研究完成时，有149位患者还健在。此外，97%的患者在修炼法轮功后，癌症症状消失，而且患者的平均见效时间只有1.3个月。
肿瘤病人他们出现身体的改变之前呢，往往都会有一些心理观念，还有情绪和精神上的改变。那这个与当今的比较热门的精神神经免疫学的研究发现是一致的。
不仅如此，这些患者在修炼法轮功后，生活品质也得到显著改善。
光是身体上有改变，他们的这个精神和这个人情志、性格、性情都发生了改变。那具体表现在就是他们的就是想问题更加的正面，更容易看到阳光的一面。
董宇红表示，尽管法轮功不是为了治疗癌症，但研究证实，修炼法轮功确实可以显著延长癌症病人的生命，使症状得到缓解。新唐人记者林冲，美国芝加哥报道。
But yeah, he doesn't argue a system. He just gives a bunch of anecdotes about how he beat people in various circumstances. That's the majority of that book. But he has all sorts of other interesting things to claim about history. So first of all, the Earth is much, much older, or rather humanity is much, much older than we think. Millions and millions of years old. And mermaids are real. That's something that I got to learn from him directly. He was on the bus with us at one point.
I don't know if they are real, but I wouldn't laugh at that suggestion if I were you. Look at the following pictures and then decide for yourselves. With regards to the world being very ancient, I suggest you read about the trilobite fossil that had a footprint on it. Trilobites exist 250 million to 500 million years ago. This means that intelligent human beings who wore shoes were already in existence back then. This totally crushes the atheist beliefs about evolution. Master Li also mentioned that at least 80 to 90 civilizations were wiped out overnight. I did a research and found 103. It's all recorded in my book The Forbidden Secrets Part 2. Anybody interested to help me proofread, please contact me.
And he got up at the front and took questions. And I should have come up with a better question, but I asked him, and he doesn't really speak English very well, so someone translated for me. But I asked him, like, where did the creator come from?
There are people who dedicate their life into thinking whether the chicken or egg comes first, when there are much more important questions out there. A person can only move ahead by asking the right questions. If mermaids already make you laugh, you wouldn't be able to handle the answer. The real question is, how do I move out of the reincarnation cycle? Do you think it's fun to keep doing the same things again and again, eating and passing motion every single day?
In your system, which is a typical like atheist talking point with theists. And he said, oh, I don't know that. And then he went into saying like, but the universe is so big and just unrelated stuff that works on his audience. But that's kind of another thing about the system. It's really about following Li Hongzhi is trying to get onto his planet, his world that he governs in the next life. Like reincarnation is real, and there are countless worlds out there, which I kind of believe as well, but...
You really got it all wrong. If you had listened to Master Li's 9-day teachings, he had mentioned on many occasions that we all come from various universes. Of course, as Falun Dafa cultivators, we have a Falun paradise waiting for us. Master Li is saying that as much as we want to follow him to Falun paradise, once we have reached higher levels of cultivation, we would probably want to go back to where we came from initially, going back to our origins. Master Li teach us that we have to be filial to our parents, but we also need to understand that they are not the real parents that created us initially. They are only the parents that created us in this dimensional universe at this place and time. If one cultivates to the Tathagata level, they would also be able to manifest their own paradise. Master Li does not force us to go to the Falun paradise.
Not in this materialistic sense that he does. But like there are the atoms in your body, there are worlds there, and there are different levels that you can incarnate into. Different like base material that you can be made up of, elevated material, and it's, you know, not systematic, but just all these kind of interesting notions floating around in the system. So mermaids are supposed to be real, people of all sorts of different colors, not like modern races, but like, you know, green people, red people. Just typical New Age components, part of it, combined with the most ridiculous stuff I've ever heard.
Subscribe to my channel and I'll make sure you get updated on the most intriguing stories of all time.
And millions of people believe in this.
Either you are wrong or the 80 to 100 million people are idiots. So which is which? What do you think is the common denominator in intellect? I believe in infinity, because stupidity has got no limits.
And he definitely the most well-known person that I've ever had direct contact with. Besides that question, I think I only ever spoke with him once because I think he wanted to try out his English or practice his English.
You've only spoken to him once, asking a non-linear question, and you're quick to pass judgment on Master Li.
We were, I don't know if it was backstage somewhere, probably backstage somewhere, and he doesn't travel with, and he has 3 orchestras and 3 ballet companies that are all based out of Cutterbackville, New York. But he doesn't follow each orchestra all the time. I think he just pretty much goes where he wants. But I believe we were in San Francisco when he was there. But anyway, he was backstage and he just said, like, "How are you?" And, you know, whenever you see him, you're supposed to put your hands together and bow and that sort of thing. And you call him, what's the Chinese word for master or teacher? Shufu. You call him Shufu. And so I was like, Hong Hao Shufu. Very good teacher. So that was my one little personal interaction. But yeah, the people were nice, and I'm a little concerned with the level of indoctrination of the children that were there, because they're brainwashed.
Falun Gong teaches only 3 main principles: truthfulness, compassion and forbearance. Is teaching good indoctrination? You have kids, do you tell your kids that Santa Claus is real or fake? Do you lie to your kids? Throughout this video, you've been attacking Falun Gong as a cult. It's time for me to ask you some questions on Christianity since you state Christian parentalism on your YouTube channel. Number 1. Did Jesus die on the cross? If he did, why is it that the Ascension reference was added only 200 years after his supposed death? If you Google Rosa Bal, you will realize that there is a tomb of Jesus in Kashmir. I encourage people to watch the documentary Jesus Was a Buddhist Monk by BBC. I'll be uploading this documentary in my channel very soon. You should be able to see it after watching this. Number 2. Do you believe in the Holy Trinity? Jesus never once said, "I am God, worship me." On the contrary, in more than 100 occasions, he kept saying, "I am powerless without God." Number 3. Was Jesus born on 25th December? There is not one concrete proof that Jesus was born on that date. On the contrary, pagan gods such as Osiris, Horus, Mithra, Attis, Krishna, Dionysus, Tammuz, Adonis, Prometheus, Tammuz and Hermes were all born on 25th December. Is it a coincidence that we are also celebrating Santa Claus on Christmas? If you understand anagrams, Santa Claus can be broken into Satan Lucas. Lucas is the other name of Lucifer. The red color signifies blood, and the reindeer horns symbolizes the Baphomet statue. If you are a Christian, are you really worshipping Jesus or Satan on 25th December?
And I don't know if, well, in fact, I'm certain that not all of the adults were brainwashed. The actual day-to-day business aspect of it. And he has a media, probably has multiple media outlets that broadcast in different areas. And a lot of the time you won't know that it's sponsored by Falun Dafa. It'll just be propaganda about the Chinese organ harvesting or whatnot.
Revealing the truth is not propaganda. There are no media organizations revealing it full-time other than Epoch Times and NTD. Lives are lost. It is inhumane to think of it as a propaganda. I cannot understand your logic. Even teaching young kids to lead a moral life is propaganda and indoctrination to you.
He has, I'm just talking about Li Hongshi and Falun Dafa, and that's what this video is about. Some interesting stuff, and changed my thinking in a lot of ways. After this experience, so I did get fired. And I think I played well enough.
Disgruntled employee with vendetta makes hateful video. I think I played well enough. Why is there a doubt? It's because you probably played badly. If you played well enough, you would have asked why you were being fired. Your statement, "I think I played well enough," already convinced me that you were not confident of your skill sets. You did not have the audacity to challenge the firing.
The reason they gave was that I wasn't playing well enough, but I played great during all the concerts. And then during the summer, when it's the off season, they really just work you to death. It's like 80-hour work weeks, including all of the reading the scripture and meditating and all that. You get 1 day off a week with them. But I got fired probably because I started just being too relaxed.
Again, you are answering your question yourself. You got fired because you were too relaxed. A true Falun Dafa cultivator would have looked inside them to realize they're at fault. To you, Falun Gong is a joke in some mythical beliefs. You were too arrogant and self-confident. That is probably what triggered the firing. The Shen Yun members had treated you well, but now you're attacking them behind their backs, giving them no chance to defend themselves.
So, I would go for runs. It's in the mountains, in the Catskills, Cutterbackville. And he has a great, I don't know how many acres it is, probably more than 1,000 acres, beautiful complex up there. That the architecture is like Tang Dynasty era, so kind of the artsiest kind of Chinese traditional temple architecture, all sorts of statues. There's a lake up there, and great trails for running, so I would run up there, and I would just wear an undershirt because I didn't want to get any of my other clothes dirty. But apparently that was immodest. It wasn't even a tank top. It was just like a V-neck undershirt that I would wear under my concert clothes. So I got taken in to talk to the orchestra manager because of that, saying it was immodest. And I guess I argued with her because I was kind of done with it at that point anyway. I realized, immediately what this was, and I was having fun with it, so I didn't want to quit immediately. But by that time, I had married my wife and was planning on quitting soon anyway. So I didn't feel like a reason not to speak my mind. Not about the religion. I kept relatively silent about that. But just being argumentative with her. And Li Hongshi even walked by the door and saw me gesticulating, trying to defend my wearing the shirt. And then immediately after that, later that day, they pulled me in. It was like, "Oh, we're gonna let you go." Okay, fair enough. So that was the end of my career with Falun Gong with Shen Yun. Fascinating thing. So he's banned from China, and I'm sure he works with U.S. agencies in some capacity. Another interesting thing is that he often talks about the old power. I forget what the phrase was, but just that there's this ancient ruling elite that he says they respect him because they're, what he's able to do. And if I could go back and read all of the the books. There's all sorts of stuff to decipher there. But just thought I'd share that with you. If you clicked on this because you are part of Falun Gong, you know, you're a naive cultist who has been either brainwashed or you're just a foolish kind of new age person.
I've yet to hear you explain why Falun Gong is a cult.
It's not philosophically coherent. You don't know why you believe it. You're just trapped by charisma. And hey, that's what religious people typically do. I don't have a problem with it. Unless you're a kid being brought up into it, in which case, like, somebody should intervene a little bit. And I took very measured steps to suggest some alternatives to a couple of the kids who I thought were smart enough. But as a general principle, if a religious person's faith is strong, even if they were brainwashed into it, if they're average or below average intelligence, don't even bother trying, because you're going to do more harm than good. Religion helps people. Falun Gong probably does help a lot of people.
Why do you keep contradicting yourself? Do you need to see a doctor?
Still weird though, huh? Anyway, thank you for listening.
Finally, his video is done. Let me now explain why Aarvoll's video is vicious and malicious. When he came up with the cult accusations, inadvertently, he had slandered the reputation of Falun Gong, terminating some people's chances of cultivating in the process. You can never know how many reincarnation cycles a person had gone through in order to be able to receive the teachings of Master Li in this lifetime. This act of slander carries a big karma debt and has heavy consequences. In this COVID-19 pandemic, it is important that one builds up a strong resistance against the virus. Viruses are all karma-related. I've yet to hear any Falun Gong cultivators struggling with COVID-19 within my circle of friends. If you enjoy the video, please like, comment and share it. This is especially important if you have friends suffering from cancer and incurable diseases. Let them know that there is a free alternative treatment by practicing Falun Gong. You never know how many lives you can save with just a click of the button. Till we meet again in the next video.